Okay, we're on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 27th regular business meeting of the Rosehill Township Board of Trustees. It's 7:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with that, we have a quorum. Mr. Ranka is excused this evening. We have 6 members. We can conduct business. At this time, I will accept additions, deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Ms. Poziesk.
I'd like to add to the discussion this evening a discussion regarding communication issues.
Okay, Trustee Poziesk would like to add a discussion of communication issues, and that's seconded by Trustee Smith. Any discussion on the board? None offered. Those in favor of adding a discussion item to the end of the business meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That will be so added. Carry on, Mr. Levy.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to delete action item number 2 from the agenda regarding the wastewater treatment plant lighting. We're not prepared to go forward at this time.
Support. Okay, motion by Trustee Bugby, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. Any discussion? Okay, those in favor of deleting action item number 2, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That will be deleted. And Mr. Treasurer?
Yeah, last item is from the consent agenda 14-094. I would like to remove item number 2, which is the check register dated October 17th, 2014. This was listed in there.
Support.
Okay. Moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Smith, to remove the check register that has been entered in there. There should be no discussion on that. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That will be removed. Other additions, deletions to the agenda? All right, if none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The agenda stands amended. With that, open up to public comment, limited to our 2 remaining agenda items. A public comment on, let's see, either the dump truck purchase or the water main roads capital improvement program. None offered. We'll move on to a presentation. Where'd you go?
She's right there.
Don't do that to me again.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to go over the presentation for the financial audit for the year ended March 31st, 2014. Obviously, we can't go through the whole audit, so it's just some graphs, the usual, of the things that we would like to share with the residents. The audit reports are available at my office, and we're trying to get them available online at the Department of Treasury. Hopefully, they'll be up there tomorrow if anyone wants one. And I also have a PDF if everyone needs to see it tomorrow and they can't get it on the website, because I'm sure everyone's going to rush out and look at this audit. So, first of all, I'd like to introduce our auditor, Tom Monsignor from Yo and Yo. He's in the audience and he can go over the audit report part of the letter.
Ms. Darstick did this entire presentation, which is great, but we put our opinion on the financial statements, which we've gone over in great detail, and here's our opinion. The financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, which is DPW and airport, the aggregate discretely presented component units, you have a couple of those, the major funds and the fund information of Rosehill Township as of March 31st, 2014, and the changes in the financial position and cash flows for the year that ended in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. So that this is a clean opinion, unqualified opinion, for the fair presentation of the financial statements. And with that, Ann.
Great. So next what we're going to do is just kind of look over where the numbers come from and how the audit ends up. First, I want to look at taxable value from 2008 to 2014. Obviously, in 2008, 2009, we had a huge decline in taxable value, and that was one of the problems with the economy and stuff where municipalities were going in financial danger because of this dropping taxable value. Not any cause of the government entities themselves, but as far as the state of Michigan and how the taxable values have been declining. So in 2012, you can see that was our last year when they went down. So the fiscal year 2013 and 2014, the audit which was completed, taxable values are going up, which is a good sign of the economy. Houses are selling, building departments and houses are being built. But you can see that the increase is only slight. The increase from last year was a 1.09%. It's not going to be anywhere near the huge declines that we were doing year after year in year 2008, 2009. Because of a Headley, it will never go up as fast as it declined. But we are heading in the right direction and taxable values are going up. If you look at total township millages, due to this decline in taxable value, we were running into some financial difficulties, and at that time, so our millages have increased to sustain that, and that was due to the additional 1 mill for general fund, and in 2013, the additional mill for the recreation department of .375. So that's why the millages have increased over the last couple of years.
Wasn't that additional mill for police operating?
Yeah. The next page is just a breakdown of the operation portion and the debt portion. The debt mills are the sewer separation project and the judgment bond, as well as the public safety building. But good news is that public safety building will no longer be on your 2014 tax bill this winter because it will be paid off. It's all collected and will be paid off. So one debt millage finally gets to drop off the slope. Again, now we're looking at property taxes overall township. You can see that, again, it's the same thing as the taxable value you're collecting based on your millage. 2000, you can see the decline again, and then you can see the rise. But obviously, with the increased millages for 2013. Now we're going to look at total revenues of the total government. There was a less than 1% increase in total revenue from 2013 to 2014. So that's so slight. So it was 18.1 last year, and this year was 18.2. So revenues pretty much stay consistent. And the next slide is our expenditures. If we look at total expenditures from this year to last year, they increased about $673,000, or about 3.5%. One of the couple major increases is a new fire truck was bought, and that was about $750,000, and the construction total for the horse mill bike path was done, and that was a little over $400,000. So those are the big increases in expenses. Everything else pretty much stayed consistent. If we look at employee cost, obviously employee costs derive about 70% of our operating budgets. If we look from 2000, we're going to start with gross wages. If we look from 2010 to 2014, in 2010, we had 52 employees. In 2014, we have 47 full-time employees. So you can see that wages have come down and stayed consistent in the last couple of years. There were only a couple $100 difference. And then if we look at healthcare cost, pretty much has stayed pretty stable. We've done a good job of containing healthcare for sure. In the last 5 years, it pretty much stayed stable. Then we're going to go to our retirement. The Retirement has started out at 833. Obviously, there was more employees. We have less employees, and the retirement went up. A lot of the retirement going up is due to they're decreasing the length of our amortization. So they're actually making us pay more. It's like a mortgage. So we have an unfunded liability. They're actually making us catch up on our unfunded liability in a shorter period of time. So at one time, our amortization was 30 years. For 2014, it's down to 25 years. So they're shrinking the amount of time that it's going to take to pay our unfunded liability.
And didn't they get us in both directions on that? They made us accelerate our payments and extended the actuarials expecting the retirees to live longer, so we had to pay for 2 more years of expected,
Right.
longevity and pay it up faster. So we kind of got it from both sides on
So
that.
they changed the actuarial values.
Surprising.
Yes. Just so nothing is left unsaid, I want to let you know that the unfunded pension liability is at $9.6 million, and the unfunded healthcare liability is at $15.8 million for this budget report.
Back to the pension, aren't they, as I recall, aren't they trying to get
Right.
it down to 20 years?
Yes, they're going to keep shortening that.
This trend's going to continue through no fault of our own.
That's correct, yep. They're trying to get that unfunded down. But again, I just wanted to let you know what the unfunded portions are. Looking at the next page. Okay, where's the rest of my numbers at? Oh, look, we're getting fancy. Look, I got, oh, wow, I got moving up in the world. If you look at recreation, now these are fund balances, these are big cash balances at the end of the day. If we look in the previous years, recreation was having some financial difficulties. We were almost seeing the possibility of a deficit fund balance, which would be correction by the state. We would have to do, but thank God for our new millage. So we can now have recreation at a safe balance of $38,000. It's not safe, but at least it's not in the negative. So that's too is in the right direction. Fund balance at historical farm is about $67,000, and that really is just cell tower money that's over there that has been put aside to maintain the farm. Library fund balance about $57,000. That just there to pay Trenton, or now the consortium, for library cost. Block grant is just an in and out. We get money from Wayne County and we spend on different projects. Bike path fund balance last year was $630,000, and obviously with the construction of Horse Mill, the remaining bike path fund balance is due for maintenance only. So the construction portion has all been spent, and this is the portion for maintenance only. Our drain and store maintenance is a little over $1 million. If we look at road improvement, our balance in there is $347 for maintenance. Our open space fund balance is $927,000, which consists of about $500,000 still remaining for purchases and about $400,000 left for maintenance. The public safety is, that's just money used from cell towers to help maintain some of the needs of the public safety building. Our federal money, drug forfeiture, has about $550,000 that's used to buy special equipment for the police department. Our fire operating fund balance is a little over $1 million, and that takes care of all the volunteer fireman benefits and operations. The fire equipment fund is down to $501, and that is inclusive of the brand new fire truck for $750. So there's still a remaining balance of $501,000 in that fund. Next, we're going to look at the enterprise activities. The DPW and the air part are true enterprise funds. The Water's Edge, the golf portion of it, used to be an enterprise fund. I keep it here just for comparison's sake because we don't get into it as much, but it's been a big we kind of watch it to make sure where it's at with the golf marina and pool. So even though it's not a true enterprise fund, it's just on the schedule just because those are more business-type activities within the recreation department. Water, you can see the sale of water has declined. People actually, there's less usage. So even though we raise the rates, it's still bringing in less money due to people using less water. They're being more conscious about it. The rest two pretty much stay the same. If we look at the airport revenues are down a little bit. The Commerce Park revenues were down last year because we lost a tenant, but in mid-year we gained a tenant, so we're watching that. And then fuel sales were down just due to the economy and people not flying as much, and prices went up too as well. If you look at the golf side of it, golf revenues were down last year. Marina was up, and then the pool was down last year, but it was a pretty cold summer for little kids to be swimming. So, any questions on there? Next, we just want to look at our total long-term debt outstanding. You can see that in the government activities, the public safety building, that will be paid off this year, so that will be gone. The only building there is the Township Hall, so the balance on that one remains a little over $2 million. And then special assessments are the bridge, road, and drainage that are taken on by those taxpayers, and that's at $280. And then we have recreation bonds that were used to refinance the pool, the marina, at $135,000. The other, if you look at the business type activities, those are all for water and sewer lines and the sewer separation project. So that's all contained within the DPW department. And then the last one is the Downtown Development Authority. There's a couple more payments, and that was for Macomb Street. So when you look at our total debt, it's a little over $40 million. Due within 1 year, principal is $3.5 million. Now we're going to go into general fund. Obviously, the biggest fund that we have that is discretionary to the board and operations of the township. Total revenue is a little, almost $5.2 million. Last year it was 5.126, so revenues went up 1.3%. A big difference in the revenue for general fund was due to building department. The building department revenues went up 32% themselves, but there was 16 new homes built, which brought in about $190,000 more than budgeted. So there is building going on in Groseal, which is good. They're extremely busy, and it's been like that for this year and last year, and it's continuing into this current year. So that's good. It's a good sign to Groseal. If we look at our tax revenue just for general fund, again, you could see the downward slope through 2012. And then in 2013, when we passed the additional $1 million for the police department, it brought revenues back up to 2008 values. So really, we weren't gaining, we were just maintaining at that point. It brought it back to those levels. And then in 2014, pretty much stayed stable. If we look at state shared revenue, 2008, again, 2008 seemed like it was a good year. Everything was high, and it started to decline after that. Our state shared revenues have been increasing slightly over the past several years due to the EVIPT, which is no longer going to be there either, but we're going to still do the transparency requirements. If we look at expenditures for general fund, our expenditures raised, it was a little over $5 million last year, and it's 5.166 this year. It went up about 2.6%. The majority of that was within the police department, just due to raising pension cost and raises of employees. So, due to their contract negotiations. So they had a pay increase, which increased the pension cost as well. But those were the two major changes. If we look at, this is a big issue, we looked at what property tax revenue we were bringing in versus the police expenditures over the past several years. In 2012, it dropped below, and that was a huge concern with the township. Again, that's when we went out for the 1 millage, which did pass, so now it's getting it more in line. So if we look at fund balance for general fund, from 2010 to 2014, our last fiscal year, so there were some different things that happened in 2010, 2011, but if we look at 2012, when we knew our revenues weren't as much as our expenditures, we were at an operating loss of 247. Last year, the 2013 fiscal year, we brought back to the general fund 93,000, and the current fiscal year being audited, we brought back 26,249. So basically, a break even for general fund. When we originally adopted the budget for general fund and for the 2014 fiscal year, we ended up with a $308,000 deficit. So just to explain that, how we ended up breaking even was the building department, again, like I said, brought in $193,000 more than we projected. We budgeted 5 homes, we got 16. So we knew the trend was coming, but we didn't expect it to be that large. Also, when the millage passed for the rec department, we were still absorbing the bond cost for the building. Once the millage passed for the rec department, they took on that bond cost, so we had a $54,000 difference that we didn't have to give rec in the general fund. And then legal fees. We had budgeted $50,000 for legal fees, and we ended up using $42,000. So that's how we ended up breaking even. And if you just look at the trend in a chart, like you can see, again, revenues and expenditures. You can see the revenues in 12, 13, 14 raising slightly, and the expenditures pretty much stabling out. So fund balance is remaining almost $2.9 million. So, average industry for fund balance is between 10 and 25%. Ours is running close to 50. So, financially, Township is in good shape. We actually stopped the bleeding of the general fund, and that's what we wanted to do. So our fund balance did work. It was there to protect us in those bad years, and we put it back at the same level that it was. So, any questions?
I have just one comment, first of all. This is the first time I've seen these charts, and some of them you've got the timeline going from past to present, from left to right, and other times it's from right to left. I'm going to ask you, whatever the board wants, I'm going to ask you to standardize that, because my dyslexia is acting up and I'm having trouble. Where are we? All right. So it's just for future reference.
That's easy. I can do that.
Yeah.
I just have one question, Ann. On the bike path fund, there's a disputed amount with Wayne County, about $75,000. Is that factored into those numbers?
That's a payable. It's already been expensed.
It already has been expensed.
Yeah.
We haven't paid it, but it's already been expensed.
That's correct.
Very good. That's
Yeah.
good thinking. All right.
So one surprise eliminated. Something I'll be asking the board as we go into the next budget is, how big a fund balance do we want to have? And we do need to, I think we need to set a threshold that we as a board are comfortable with. I don't want to build a fund balance. I mean, I'm taking you taxpayers' money And I really think, for the most part, you can spend your money more wisely than we can, but we're going to hold enough to keep the township running, but I don't want to build a huge fund balance. We're running a real tight ship here, and intend to continue doing so. So I'll ask the board at some point for guidance and consensus on how big a fund balance we want to maintain, and the rest we will not collect, assuming things keep rolling up. And I have every expectation that things will continue to get better.
It was there when we needed it.
It was there when we needed it, yeah.
Yep, so it worked. It's been about that for the last probably 12 years. And like I said, when it dipped down, we were going $300,000 at a crack. So I think we're at a more comfortable level, and we need to see where the future things are.
Well, we've tightened up. We've tightened up in a whole lot of areas, and we found out we're right at the point where we can't do more with less anymore. We can do the same with the same. I don't see any reductions in giving the same level of service. But again, this is something we'll be discussing with the board. Anything else for Ms. Stosniak?
Nice job, Ed.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, that'll conclude tonight's presentation. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 14-094, which has now two items after the change in agenda: the minutes of the October 13th, 2014 regular meeting, and to approve the check register dated October 24th, 2014.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney to approve the consent agenda as published. Discussion among the board. With none offered, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. The consent agenda is approved. With that, move to action items. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First action item, I'd like to put forth a motion based on recommendation of the DPS Commission to approve the purchase of one diesel Ford F-550 chassis 4x4 dump truck with plow and salt attachment per the attached Gorno Ford quote dated September 24th, 2014 in the amount of $77,412.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss for the purchase of the pickup. Background?
A little background. This is the dump truck that was discussed way back at our budget meetings that we needed to do. Our old F-350 has seen its better days. It will be kept around, to my knowledge, but as far as really being serviceable for the needs of the DPS department, it's seen its better days. So a lot of thought went into what size truck, what we need to get. The DPS department, in fact, sent it back for further discovery and came back with a lesser truck than was first being looked at. And this is what we've come up with that we need. So it will be, as I say, used for the DPS department, but it will also be available for those snow emergencies.
Well, it's a good utility-style truck. We can't, like you said, the old one, they run all the time, and while it's still reasonably serviceable, it's not reliable enough for our winter considerations. So it'll be in the standby mode, and the new one, we will work it and wear it out too. I mean, we're not buying them to keep them shiny. We buy them to work them, and we do work them hard. Other comments? Mr. Costick, you waiting to?
He doesn't. He's trying to sit today.
He may not be so lucky.
I have a comment.
Mr. Modesto.
Jim, I think you already answered the question where the primary use of this truck is, which would be at the airport.
It will be for the DPS department.
DPS department. But this is also used for emergency snow removal during the winter months.
Just like our other trucks have been used. Yes.
What I want to say is that based on our, especially last year's snowfalls, I don't know how we cannot consider purchasing this truck. It's a real service to the township. Those days that the Wayne County doesn't show up in an appropriate time,
this is what's available.
Yeah, I mean, just to be fair to Wayne County, when they're over with the snow we had, they couldn't be every place, and we got out and took care of the problem. Now, again, this is an F-550. Our truck that we're replacing is an F-350, which is a huge difference, if you know.
Sure, it's only but not as large as
right. So this will be able to do a better job for us.
Which is, for the township, that's all you can ask for.
Yep.
Okay. Other comments regarding the purchase of the dump truck?
Just a quick question.
Mr. Posiask.
Was it competitively bid?
It was purchased through the My Deal, I guess it's called, which is Michigan deal, so it's the best price possible. They do all that, and Gorno is our delivery source.
That should ease any fears anyone has on what kind of deal we're getting on this. We're getting the best price available. Other questions, comments? All right, with none offered. Okay, those in favor on approving the purchase of one diesel Ford F-550 chassis 4x4 dump truck with plow and salt attachments in the amount of $77,412. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? Spend it wisely. All right, let's move on to action item number 3 with 2 being deleted. Mr. Bundy.
Mr. Supervisor, thank you. I'm going to read this whole thing. It's a proposed motion. It's a motion to authorize and approve, and I will go through this if I can read it. Come on, get bigger. Whereas transportation funding in the state of Michigan and Wayne County has decreased annually since the year 2000, which in turn has resulted in reduced maintenance and repair of Groseal Township roads. And whereas the DPS Commission has performed a water system reliability study identifying the need for water main replacement, and whereas the need for road and water main improvement should occur in conjunction with each other to minimize impact and cost, and whereas the Groseal Township DPS Commission has examined this matter extensively and has recommended to the Township Board a plan to invest in Groseal roads and water systems, and whereas Wayne County Department of Public Services is the permitting agency for the proposed capital improvements and are required to agree with the proposed township plans, and whereas the funding of such improvements are estimated at $18 million, and whereas the Township Board supports the concept of the plan to invest in Groseal roads and water systems, and now, therefore, be it resolved on October 27th, 2014, the Groseal Township Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the Township Manager, the DPS Director, the Township Engineer, and DPS Commission representatives to present the plan to invest in Groseal roads and water systems to the Wayne County Department of Public Services and report the findings to the Township Board.
Okay, we have a motion to pass the resolution by Trustee Pudney and supported by Trustee Posiask.
The background on this is our long-term road and water main capital improvement program that has been presented, was presented, I believe, September 22nd. I may be off on the date, but it was our September meeting. We presented this to the board along with, at the time, the Wayne County incentive program on roads. We gave you the plan that we gave you hasn't changed. A big part of that plan has to be getting the approval of Wayne County to buy into certain of the projects, for permits, and for them just giving their overall blessing on the plan, since we're going to be fixing their roads. So this is the first step of many, but this will, if if this is approved by the board, then we can get working on this.
Comments, questions? Mr. Treasurer?
Just so that nobody out there has a heart attack. This is not a commitment of funds at this point, and it is contingent on Wayne County buying into our program, which is an extensive program to fix their roads, which are going to require some participation for them. When all the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted, and the approvals are given, this will come back and go forward as a millage issue to the public. Until that happens, there will be no monies expended other than the hard work of the commission and commissioners and staff to get all of this put together. So it will be back, and at some point in time, depending on Wayne County's reaction and activities on this, it may come back modified to our benefit, it may come back modified to our deficit, but prior to committing this township to any dollars, it'll be on millage form at the ballot. So you will have a
Huge
you'll have the opportunity to learn, study, and we'll give you all the data you need in between. And this is just to get this ball rolling. It's a big ball and it takes a long time. We would be very remiss if we didn't start this right now.
I'm looking at this as the future of Grosse Ile Township, realistically. You hear nationwide communities, states, regions complaining about no money for infrastructure, deteriorating conditions, and a lot of overdevelopment, underplanning, overpromise, and underdelivered. In this case, we know what we need to do. We're laying out a plan to do it, to keep Grosse Ile Township a livable, supported community forever. And as these projects go on, there will be more we'll need to do, but we're not going to wait till it's unlivable, unsafe, and people vote with their feet. We're going to keep the township up and running, and the community will be proud of. Mr. Modesto.
Jim, I've got a question. By adopting this, does this in any way, in a long term, relieve Wayne County from the responsibility of maintaining the roads? And does it, in the long term, lock us in, if they do approve our program, lock us in to a program that we can't get out of?
Yeah, absolutely not. Even after if we were to go through with this, we make the changes, they're still their roads, it's still their responsibility. We're just doing it knowing at this point, we're not going to get the money to fix the roads. Wayne County isn't going to have the money to fix our roads, and they're going to continue to deteriorate, which absolutely does us no good as a community from a safety standpoint, from a livability standpoint. Something has to be done. In fact, I was reading an article just last week. I think there's over 75 communities have already taken a step. Of course, cities are different than townships, but and most of them are cities, but where they've gotten an increase because of lack of county participation, and that's all counties. That's not just Wayne County. I mean, it's all over the map. The individual communities are doing this. We're actually we've spent a couple of years putting this plan together. This is not something that's just come up. We've been looking at it and going through it. This is a plan that touches every part of the island. From north to south, east to west, everybody will see improvement somewhere. A lot of people will see improvement in their own backyard. So, but this is the first step.
And I agree with you 100%, yeah. And I understand what you're saying. But the example I would use that over the next 2 years, there's $1 million that Wayne County is with matching funds.
Right.
I would hate for 3 years down the road another $1 million come up, and then for us to find out that we don't qualify for it because we have our own plan in place. I guess that would be where I'm going at.
Well,
who knows?
yeah, and we don't even know if we're going to get the full $1 million. But we really can't sit around and wait for what we have no idea is going to happen. This is a good, solid plan, and I'm anxious to get started on it. Going to Wayne County is the first step. If we were to get approval, there would be, meetings, town hall meetings to explain it to the people. We'll do everything in our power to answer every question that the residents have as to why we're doing it and what we're doing. But as I say, this is the first step we got to get with Wayne County.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Budney? All right, with none offered, go back to I guess the motion is to forward the resolution on to DPS and let them go on to Wayne County. So those in favor of authorizing, got to start putting these in motion forms. Anyway, of approving the resolution to on to Wayne County, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. I think it's great work, and again, it's a plan.
I'd just like to commend Mr. Costick for his work. We have a real expert on the DPS Commission, in Bill Costick. He's done this in other communities. He understands the process. He has the forethought and foresight to move something forward today that he knows is not going to get done tomorrow, but if we don't start it today, it'll never get done. So, put a lot of work into this bill. I appreciate it. You've been a great leader of that department. Thank you.
I would absolutely second that. And I've said it before, this community doesn't know how lucky they are to have Bill Costick as the chairman of the DPS Commission.
All right, well, it's, again, for myself too, thanks, Bill. All right, we'll move on. Now, that'll conclude our action items for tonight. Let's move on to the clerk's report. In Clerk Ranka's absence, his deputy, Mrs. Gray, will fill us in on the latest election news and other items. Mrs. Gray.
Clerk Ranka is unable to be at tonight's meeting due to an out-of-state.
On those two sides there, go ahead.
Okay, how's that? Okay. All right, so Clerk Ranka is unable to be here tonight due to an out-of-state business trip, so you're stuck with me. There are 8 days remaining until the general election. Sample ballots are available for preview at www.michigan.gov/sos/voter information. Additionally, a limited number of paper copies of the ballot are available at the clerk's office. Absentee ballots are currently available in the clerk's office for those qualified voters who request them prior to 2 p.m. on Saturday, November 1st. Yes, we will be here from 9 until 2 on Saturday. Absentee ballots may also be voted in the clerk's office until 4 p.m. on Monday, November 3rd. The ballots may not leave the office on that day, however. When requesting an absentee ballot in person, be prepared to provide photo identification to the clerk's staff in compliance with Michigan election law. If unable to provide photo ID, voters may also sign an affidavit of identity. Voted absentee ballots must be received in the clerk's office by 8 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th, in order to be counted. Voters who usually vote in precincts 3 or 4 at the VFW Hall on Macomb Street will instead vote at St. James Episcopal Church on East River Road for the November election. Voting location for future elections is yet to be determined. Voting precincts will open on Election Day at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. promptly. Those in line at 8 p.m., should there be lines, will be allowed to vote. Candidates and their committee members are advised that the Michigan election law 100-foot campaigning law will be enforced on Election Day. Campaigning and campaign literature or signage must be 100 feet away from any entrance to a voting precinct. Please refer to www.michigan.gov/elections for the full text of this law. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Gray. Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The investment report for the month of September shows $14,482,896 and some change. That number does not reflect tax distribution, as that's a September report. We had not made the distributions. The next report will indicate the amount with the distribution, which would be at about $7 million less. Accounts generated about $4,361. It's about a .24. It's getting better. Still stinks, but it's getting better. The 2014 summer tax bill's due date is now passed, and we have collected the majority of our tax rolls. Our reports show about 96% of our taxes have been collected. We continue to collect summer tax payments with a late penalty of 3%. Late payment penalty occurs monthly. Please call or stop by the office for the accurate penalty amounts or inquire online at grosseal.com. We have recently added our online payment option for bike path, brick paver payments, fire department ambulance fee payments. Access to these new options can be found on grosseal.com. The 2015 pet tags are now available at Township Hall. The fee is $6 until the end of January 2015, when it'll go up to $12. Be sure to bring proof of your rabies and all your shots for your dog. I don't think we have another Commerce Park Commission this month. We've already done that, right? Yeah, be next month, so I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Move on to trustee liaison reports, and Ms. Posias.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I tell you that there's a lot of good things happening between the Bike Path Committee and the Greenways Open Space Committee. If you've been up and down Macomb, or Merrill, pardon me, and down Grill Road, you will see a lot of new lumber in place and a lot of yellow caution tape all over the large bridge over the canal. That's indication of the continuing work that we're doing to bring those bridges back up to full standard. As you know, we did hire the person that in fact built 2 of those 3 bridges to do so. And next spring, I'm going to ask for quotations to really thoroughly clean those bridges without pressure washing. I want to do them chemical wash and rinse. They're deteriorating because of the high pressure water being used on them. But all in all, we're coming back and bringing our bridges back up to the nice high standard. That'll look really good for next year. There are some path repairs that you should note in front of the gas station in Macomb and Meridian. A nice sewer has been installed and a concrete apron has been put in. The drainage issue there should now be substantially improved. And the bike path that we've had so many complaints about in that area should have no more complaints. Correct, Al? Yes, sir. Smooth as a billiard table. Those are good things. There are a couple things that have happened with the Open Space Committee, most notably, and again, I don't take away his thunder, Woody Clark will give you an update. I think he's got Minnie Pearl reporting for him tonight. But Dump to Junk was another success. And the woodcutting event he'll tell you about also. So I'll leave those 2 to you, Woody, okay? That's all I have, Mr. Supervisor.
I thank Ms. Posias. Move on to Ms. Buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. ZBA meeting tomorrow. We have a doubleheader, 2 appeals, so get your popcorn and your pop and sit back and enjoy. Our next DPS meeting is the 2nd Tuesday in November, and on the ordinance enforcement scene, which has been really going very well. We're currently handling our big issue is trailers, RVs, and boats as far as winter storage. And Once we get through that, the next one will be temporary structures, or as Mr. Clark likes to call them, plastic houses. That'll be next on the list, so if you have one, we will probably be talking to you. That's all I have.
Can't wait to hear about that. Thank you, Mr. Budley. Mr. Modesto.
Thank you, Brian. As Ann Dozniak, our financial manager, told us, the public safety building, the funds are in place to pay it off. That means that's one less millage to worry about. Thank you to everybody. It's over. Hopefully you're aware of this. There was an open house at the fire department, and the new fire truck is in place. So that's one positive for us. The new water rescue trailer is in place, as well as the lightweight aluminum boat craft that will be able to drag. Our firemen will be able to drag it to a point of entry without straining themselves when it comes time to do a rescue. So that's another positive. Chief Murdoch told me that they did a building tour for the second grade class, and that will now become an annual event. Is that true? Am I right?
He was having a rough day.
He was having a rough day. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And so was Rusty.
Yeah. No, that's all good news. So things are moving right along for them. And gee, I looked up and I saw a new rec manager in the audience. I'd like to take an opportunity to throw her under the bus and ask her to come up and say hello to everybody. Will you do that, Wendy? Not really throwing you under the bus, but everybody see your smiling face. So you opened your first day is going to be the 27th, correct?
Well, today I came in and filled
Okay.
out paperwork and had my orientation with Dale, and we had a good day. He
Well,
gave me
that's
about 20 keys and said, "Here's the keys to the city."
Did she sign? Did she sign? You're ours.
Yeah, we give you the key to the medication cabinet so you know where the aspirin's at.
I'm not sure. There's like 20 keys and none of them are labeled, so
Oh.
I think it's a joke.
Well, thank you for coming to the mic. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. That's it. I will be having more conversations with Brandy and hopefully be able to update programs, events, things that are taking place. So, thanks again, Brandy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Modesto. Mrs. Smith?
Just 2 meetings to report coming up. November 12th at 5 p.m. is the Communications Commission meeting, and the next Festival Commission meeting is on January 21st at 7 o'clock. Other than that, I have no report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Smith. I guess it's my turn. All right, just a few odds and ends. It's been pretty quiet. Just to remind you, Halloween is this Friday evening, October 31st, and trick-or-treating is between the hours of 6 and 8. You know, it's already dark by then, so please be careful. If as many kids were at the parade or out trick-or-treating, it's going to be a blast. Circle back to the parade we just had on Saturday. Brandy, you're going to see more of these in the future. Weather was perfect. We had a great turnout. I was there as we started mustering around 10 o'clock, and we tried to start the parade at 10:30. I was the only one there at 10 o'clock. At about 10:25, it just came out of the woodwork. But anyway, we had a great parade. We integrated the bicycles. We had decorated bicycles and bicycle helmets, which we're going to have to figure out how to integrate them into the parade a little bit better, but we'll something to work on for next year. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kids trick-or-treated on Macomb Street for the rest of the day, so it was a good time. Okay, want to do it now, or you want to jump in? Okay, all right, I'll just go on then. Football team is going to, I would just sort it out, they're in the playoffs against Chelsea, so they took league and they're moving on. So congratulations to the varsity football team. So Woody's going to cover the cutting. Township offices will be closed Tuesday, November 11th for Veterans Day. Maybe good news for somebody. It was at a press conference last week. Governor Snyder was there. Some of the mayors, regarding the FEMA response to the heavy rains in August, it was primarily Joe Cuspa from Southgate and Jack O'Reilly from Dearborn, the communities that took the biggest, just incredible amounts of damage from the rain. And we also had the head representative from FEMA and the Small Business Association. After the conference, asked the FEMA director if we could possibly piggyback on this disaster and get reimbursed for the, somewhere over $30,000 we spent of township funds cleaning up the wood debris from those straight line winds that came through. And if you lived anywhere towards the southern end of the island, you saw the damage that did. That was very expensive. We as a board decided we would fund that cleanup. Otherwise, we'd still have people cleaning up debris. It was important to get the township cleaned up and get everybody up and running. But I was going to see if we could possibly get some disaster money for that. And I wasn't quite that persuasive, so we're going to eat that cost. But the good news, I did meet a Mr. Michael Peacock, who's from the Small Business Administration, and he happened by the township today, was distributing some literature, making sure we knew how to contact him. But he clarified that while FEMA doesn't cover basement floodings in those rainstorm events, the SBA can help. So I know of at least 2 people, and again, we dodged the bullet on the rain, not so much on the wind, but on the rain event, but there were at least 2 people I know who had basement flooding problems, and depending on your circumstances, contact me, and I'll try to get you in touch with the Small Business Administration. They have very favorable long-term loans. If you have extensive repairs, maybe we can help you get your basement straightened out. So some good news, I happened to catch his name was Michael Peacock, U.S. Small Business Administration, and they're here to help. And my closing comment is, so we put the word out, please properly locate your political signs. We had very good compliance on that. Macomb Street was cleaned up right away. And we have a code enforcement officer who is, unfortunately, those who didn't get the message about putting signs on public property, put them on the private property. You're protected there. We're going to collect them off the public property. And that concludes my report. I will, Mr. Balesta, you had
one last thing. I apologize. I was so excited when I found out the public safety building was paid off. There were a group of volunteers headed up by the Kiwanis, and I think Dale, you're familiar with that. And they did an extensive project at the Macomb Playscape this past weekend. There were a lot of volunteers. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't know them all, and I wouldn't want to show anybody. But they had quite a crew there. A lot of cleanup, fix-up, paint-up, reinstalling signs. I stopped by, I saw them, and did my best to buy them a new boom rake and some gloves, help them out. But they really did a nice job, and they've done a wonderful job down there. Anybody who hasn't been to the Playscape recently should take a walk down there. And I just think that by having the presence of people and knowing that it's not just paying somebody going to do an improvement, it's actually citizens. Hopefully that'll deter past vandalism or people coming in and doing damage. So, thank you to that whole group, both the organizers and the volunteers. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Okay, with that, we'll turn it over to the Township Manager, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a few brief items. Number one, the all-season rink. The dasher boards and fencing have been installed. That project was finished late last week. You'll notice that it is not open for business. We are in the process of finalizing the rink rules and regs, and those will be brought through the Recreation Commission and reported back to the board. And we'll also do a walkthrough with our risk manager as far as those signs, the rules and regs prior to opening the facility. But that's all in process, and we should have something before the board. We're targeting the tentatively our end of November meeting, but I know that's a holiday week, and I wasn't sure if that was confirmed to take place. So that'll be here soon. The other item is, I know just at the last meeting, the board approved the Loma Circle drain contract to do the drain improvement. It's pretty much finished. They're doing some restoration. I think the installation was finalized today. So just wanted to report the same, that project that you had just approved is completed pending some minor restoration. So, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ream. All right, this time, open up to public comment. You know the rules. Introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Got discussion, too.
Yeah.
Discussion, do we,
Wally brought up.
where does discussion fit in? Is that before or after public comment? Pardon? Before public comment, all right. Discussion item, in that case, I knew it was in there, I just didn't remember the sequence.
My feelings are hurt, but I'll get over it quickly.
You open it up, Mr. Posiask?
I'm bringing up a sensitive subject. Like all of us on this board, we have a duty to our residents to listen to them. And what I've been listening to, it goes across the board. You hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that in this township. But what I'm hearing a lot of is dissatisfaction with our television programs. We have, I guess I can just summarize it. Some of our residents have just said it's irrelevant. I ask them if they'll watch it to see what's going on in the township, and they'll get, well, if you can see the picture, then you can't hear the sound, and if you can hear the sound, you can't get the picture. And sometimes you can't get either one of them, and nobody watches Grosvenor television. That's the sentiment, and I think we've got to do something about that. We've got some real serious, valid complaints in my mind. I would hope that you would see them. I can give examples, but we need to address this a little bit more thoroughly than we have. I think I started out by listening and hearing, something about a Star-Spangled Banner announcement being stuck overnight. When you see the same thing stuck for 2 days, there's something wrong. When you see something that sounds like an old phonograph record going in the background, there's something wrong. And I've brought these up before. We've had discussions before. I frankly felt like I got blown off in the past, but I can't have that happen anymore. I got too many people pestering me about it. We have a communications commission that's supposed to oversee this and make these presentations better. We got to step up. That's my opening statement.
Well, waiting for follow-up from the board. There's been, I know we've made some infrastructure improvements. I'm looking at the new cameras, so the picture quality should be good.
Right, well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in the past, I know we've had issues. We have 3 carriers. We have AT&T, Wide Open West, and Comcast. And some would carry broadcast better than others on different days, and it was, as I recall, there was almost like moving parts. One day, 2 of the 3 would carry the audio well, and we were told it was leaving the broadcast here in excellent condition, if you can consider audio under condition. And then wherever it gets rebroadcast from, the anomalies may have been there. I don't know, but if we have recurring problems, we need to identify where they are so we can direct some time and resources to get them fixed.
Mr. Supervisor, I think that's exactly what I'm driving at. We can't be giving reasons. The end product has to be visible on television in good quality and able to be heard. If you don't have good audio or you don't have good video, we don't have a good product.
Agreed.
And, I've tried to temper my remarks, and I'm not real good at that. So, Wally throws fastballs, and that's just the way it's going to be. Well, you're going to hear what I feel. You're going to hear what I feel because I've had 25 complaints in the last 2 weeks about this. We've heard, the problems with WOW and the problems with Comcast, and now it's not with WOW and it's Comcast, it's us. I don't ever want to hear somebody tell me the word gremlins again, and I also don't want to have to watch C-SPAN to learn how to use a microphone. Every other community I've gone to has good audio and good video. We should not be an exception.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and in all honesty, we do need to fix those problems. And I think by you actually speaking up is probably going to bring this to a head. I think that there's not one of us up here who hasn't experienced not only just the microphone problems, which that really could be a separate problem in itself, but when we look at our broadcasts and you go back and look at some of the productions, and the video now is great since we've replaced all the cameras, so that's fantastic. I know that Ted was planning on bringing to the commission some audio adjustments in the near future. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think, Wally sent me an email earlier this week expressing his concerns. I too have seen it. I too have heard issues and complaints from other people. I emailed Ted and Kathy Walker, the chair of the Communications Commission, and I basically have asked them to kind of come back to us. I know that Ted expressed that he was working on the problem, but I think now that he's hearing it from multiple people, and now that the board has the full attention of this issue, what I can do is ask as the board liaison of the chair and Ted to come back to the board, I guess, with a formal written response as to what the issues are, because ideally I just want to fix the problem. I mean, our constituents, our people here, our residents deserve better, and we need to fix the problem. So let's figure out what the problem is, let's figure out how to fix it, and then let's get it fixed in that order. So, I think if Ted can promise us or get to us in a couple weeks with what the problems are and what potential solutions could be, and then, offer up some solutions to fix the issues, and then we can move forward. If I think about the timing of our next meetings and whatnot, the Communications Commission has a meeting on the 12th of November, so we will be discussing this. I already talked to, Kathy had already mentioned that this will be a topic of discussion at the next meeting, and I think that should be the sole discussion at the next meeting, because this really does need to be addressed. I think that's probably what I'm going to do, and Dale's here to hear our issues and concerns with it, so if it's just fixing the problem, I think that we can probably get this done in the next 45 days or so, or maybe even start off to 2015 with good audio. I know that Ted came out here. I don't know if, Ted, you have anything to say or not, but...
Good, because I was going to ask him to come to the mic. I have a question for him also, so...
First of all, I'd like to tell you what the problems were, not are right now, because since I was notified Monday and Tuesday of last week of the issue, it's not like I just sat there and didn't address them. I'm not going to give you any excuses. I'm going to tell you what I did to fix the problem. There was threefold issues. Yes, the channel was stopping on the Star Spangled Banner. It was a timing issue, which I tried to deal with first in-house, then I called Thaler and dealt with their service department, and they had no issues, so we finally went to the manufacturer in the factory. They got inside of the computer. As computers now, they don't fix you on site, they fix you through the internet, and changed some internal settings in the computer, and the stoppage of the programming, specifically the Star Spangled Banner, went away. The second issue was that when I got out for vacation, I was informed through an email from Mr. Proziak that there was a background hum on the music, which was caused by a computer dying. We put up the music service on it's a 24-hour music program that rotates and plays randomly, and after probably 18 or 19 months of continuous 24-hour 7 service, the computer stopped playing, and that was the second problem. We haven't replaced that yet, but we will very soon. Right now, there's no background music on the community bulletin board. The third problem was, once again, on the same computer, Windows-based computer, that we tried everything Basically, one of the channels quit playing. There's a switcher that tells it to go from channel 1, 2, or 3. Channel 1 just quit. We didn't know what it was, called the service people, and so we used the most rarest of all forms of computer repair. After thinking it through, we rebooted. And since Tuesday, there have been no glitches, and everything has been working smoothly, and hopefully it'll continue. So that's what we did to fix the problem. And I'm not, well, this would be an excuse, but two of these theories are, one, when they changed the internal settings of this Windows-based computer, I guess it's standard procedure to reboot, and we didn't reboot. And so after we did it, it worked. The second theory was, and I know I brought this up at the Cable Commission meeting, that storm we had in September, a lot of people lost electronics, basically through a brownout condition. And these glitches that Mr. Proziak rightfully brought up started right after that storm, and through September and October, we were chasing them. So I'm not saying it's one or the other. I can just tell you the solution was to reboot. This week, I'm going to have the technician come from Ann Arbor to come out and check out that whole unit. I don't expect him to tell me anything differently because he's the one that called the factory, and we dealt with the factory to try to correct that situation. And second of all, Ms. Smith, you mentioned that it's been our plan all along to use this year to the only part of the television production that we haven't replaced since 2000 has been the audio. And Thursday at 1 p.m. you're all invited if you want to come out and help them. The technician is going to come in and start with the microphones and work the sound system all the way till it goes out on the broadcast. A, it was not Comcast's fault. B, it wasn't Wild's fault. C, it wasn't Granicus's fault. And D, it wasn't AT&T's fault. So none of the problem was in-house. I think it's fixed. I can't guarantee it because I can just tell you what we did to solve it, and I can't tell you what caused it. Hopefully, when the technician comes out, we might be able to find that out and eliminate it. But that's what we did to solve the problems that we did have that, as of this moment and the last, well, since Tuesday, have not existed.
Great. Can you do me a favor, like, give the email address and a phone number for people to call, should they have questions, and then let them know?
It's on the webpage, it's on the communications webpage, it's on the GITV webpage, it's my name, Ted F. at grosshill.com.
Okay.
It's like everybody else's, whoever you want to contact, first name, last initial, grosshill.com.
Yeah, and when you know, just from experience with this in my previous lives, is like when you have problems like this, don't just say, my cable's not working or the audio's poor. We need to know like who your carrier is, what time it took place, whether if it was a live meeting or a rebroadcast, you know, what meeting it was. So it's just not, my audio sucks.
And another thing we did is I contacted the people that run the meeting. We reviewed procedures. They're posted. In fact, we're in the process of rewriting because of the new equipment, we're rewriting a new procedure manual. Not a manual, but 5-6 pages. And we reviewed all the procedures. Last meeting, Monday and Tuesday, I personally watched how we started, checked the audio with all our vendors. Everything was, the procedures are being followed, so it wasn't operator error either. It was, like I said, we rebooted and the problem went away.
Okay. All right, well.
Any questions?
So if I go back and watch today's meeting tomorrow, I'll have good audio, right?
Yeah, it won't be scheduled probably till the weekend. I still got last week's meetings running.
Okay.
Just another question that was brought up as an aside. We're supposed to have a new website since February. Where is it at?
Boy, I tell you, I'd like to. Nobody wants this thing to be launched more than me, except maybe Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, on September 1st, we got what they call a migrated webpage, revised, migrated our old webpage into the new format. They told us to wait up until September 17th. We had a meeting with 8 of the managers and full-time people that are going to be having access to the webpage. It was an all-afternoon meeting. I think it ran almost close to 6.5 hours. At that time, we found a number of issues. Revised started correcting them. October 1st, we had a second meeting with all the employees that are going to be working on it. And at that time, we set a date, which I'm not going to mention because the last thing you should do is give a date and cement because it's hard to meet. While I was on vacation, we got a email from Revise saying stop working on it. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday that week. We have found numerous issues. We're going to redo it. So as of Friday, they gave us back the web page. So this is today was the first day that we have been able to work on it. I am not, in all honesty, I can't give you a drop dead date when it's going to be gone. We literally have to go through every page. There's a lot more work to this than I thought in the beginning. Myself and the other eight people that have access to it are going to have to redo all their pages exactly the way they want. And so I apologize immensely. I can't tell you. I wanted it to be this Saturday, which was November 1st. There's just no way it could be this Saturday. I'd like to tell you the 15th, Thanksgiving. I can't give you a date. I mean, we're working on it.
Just for my 2 cents, Ted, I appreciate that you put a lot of work into it. I do.
Well, actually, it's turned out a lot more work than I may have been naive, but it's turned out to be a lot more work than I thought we were going to have to put into it.
My point was that it's not a criticism of you or your effort. But I got to see a website, and I got to see good audio, I've got to see good video.
You know what? I tell you, anybody.
And I'm watching.
If you call, I can pretty much control everything now. You know, I was sitting in Tennessee watching GITV on my telephone, so I can pretty well get into the computer. And the only thing I couldn't do was shut off the buzz of the computer that died. I don't have access to that one. Contact me, and I actually have a young lady that lives in Riverview. If I can't get here immediately, she can pop across any time. In fact, the weekend that I was gone, she was in here Friday. There was some messages that needed to get up on the webpage. She put them up. And when she contacted me, she said everything was running smooth, and that was Friday afternoon. Monday, when I came in, we had that buzz. So,
my ending point was what really accelerated my effort here was watching the DPS meeting on Monday night, and as soon as it ended, the television switched to a black screen and slurp, slurp, slurp. Somebody should have noticed it right then.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can give you an excuse.
No excuses. It is what it is.
I know,
and we're going to watch.
As soon as that was done, we went to another project, and we didn't even pay attention to that. I'm sorry.
One question, Ted. Who's your backup? If you get hit by a bus, who do I contact?
Right now, Angie Siska, who's right now sitting in my office tabbing the meeting so that everybody can go, has been with me since 2000. I mean, she knows absolutely everything about the webpage. She can, well, not the new one. She hasn't worked on that, but everything up to this point. Last year, when I had to take a week off for medical, she covered me.
Okay. Do we have contact numbers for Angie?
Yes.
Does they have contact? Okay.
She has contact, and she knows absolutely. And then the two people that are working the meeting tonight have been with me since 2005, and they've got great qualifications. One of them used to run Romulus Television, and so, I mean, they've got 20 years of experience, so we've got qualified people.
Anything else for Mr. Fournier? Any?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I'm going to throw you a marshmallow. No, I think, it's going to come out of the bazooka, though. I think in fairness to the communications department, and I realize we don't have a producer on staff 24/7. If in fact, Ted, that we're dealing with mismatched, antiquated, browned out equipment, and you need to do an analysis of it and come back and make a presentation, if you need additional dollars, whatever it is, to correct this problem, I would ask that Ted be given a chance to, do that research, analyze it. If it is a case of any of those, again, mismatched, and when I say mismatched, something that's out of date, it's not going to talk to the newer piece of equipment, or something that's just burned out. In fairness to you, is that reasonable?
Well,
is that something you want to do?
The board, we've talked, Ms. Smith and Mr. Lopez, especially in budget meetings. Last year, we did a 3-part improvement. We did the cameras, we did the computer that we direct from, do graphics, and we did the broadcast system. The only thing we didn't do was the audio, which I explained that we would do an analysis this week, and this year, and present it to the budget in January, February, March, if anything was needed, and that's what should happen Thursday. I'll have, we'll check everything from your mic to the way it goes out. So the only thing that's antiquated or old right now is actually the sound system, and that's what we're going to review, and then in the budgetary process, update whatever is necessary. And there are other ways of doing it. Ms. Smith is, she probably wants to shoot me for this because she's mentioned to this 2 or 3 times. She hates this system we have up here where you hit the mic, and it's a timer system. After 10 or 15 minutes, no matter if you're on or off, it shuts off. The lights go off. You guys are all aware of that. And the problem is that she would like a toggle thing that says you're on or off. Well, the problem is there's a duplicate switching system in the back. So we go off and you go on, your on will become your off, and we haven't figured out the...
Either that or just leave them all on, I think we realize.
Well, you don't want to go on. They set out for your safety so that if you guys want to have discussions
too many
out there
people get
private,
busted on that. There's no
so that's another thing we want to address, and there's also a automatic mixer system that once we get you all up there, we can set your voice levels, because right now each meeting somebody different sitting in your chair, so we can't set voice levels, but there is a system where you can get a mixer, set up all the voice levels, and call the board program 1. You hit program 1 and the mixer just goes up to all the presets that we ideally set. So that's another thing we're going to be looking in for and upgrading the audio.
Okay, so how quickly do you think you can get back to us? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'll know Thursday or whenever they send me their recommendation. So I'll do that. But
all right. Very good.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Mr. Refornian. Other additions to the discussion? We've got a direction we're going with this? All right, we'll call the discussion terminated, complete. With that time, now, where was I? Public comment. 3 minutes, introduce yourselves. I think Mr. Clark has some announcements. Oh, you left the hat. But that's all right, Mr. Mr. Clark.
Okay, here we go. Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees. Oh, okay. We had dumped the junk, was pretty good. We got some money. We're going to deliver the money tomorrow to Township School. And we'll give them the money, I won't give them how much money now, I'll wait till tomorrow. I want to thank Ron Broche, Ingo Hazelrod, Cliff St. Pierre, Pat Nielsen, Bill Falarsi, Chuck Wallowich, Joanne Copeland, and Alan Copeland. They helped with the dump the junk. And we had The thing wasn't on, put into a base, into a bin, it was just on the ground, and people started to get itchy hands and wanted to take it home with them. So we told them no, and they just don't understand no. That's the way it goes. Wood cutting is this weekend. You can contact Carol. You come bring the paper, fill out the paperwork from her, and we'll see you Saturday morning down here at the Township Hall, 9 o'clock, right, Cliff? 9 o'clock. Okay. Every time you have a Coke or a Pepsi, you take 8 or 9 teaspoons of sugar. They say don't tell your doctor you have a fever, because you might be going to quarantine. 2 vehicles in the police compound. Are they going up for auction? Can't hear you. No? And that, they won't come out? Do you think they will ever?
Sometimes they get them back, sometimes they don't.
Okay, they got 5 things here, and we'll real fast, and we'll get over with it. First lie is travel ban won't work. A libertarian man practically hand-delivered Ebola into America on the commercial airline. Obama still thinks its travel ban won't keep you safe. Hospitals are ready for Ebola. Remember the Primaris song and dance about the CDC was selling weeks ago. In a recent survey, 4 or 5 American nurses said they have received no Ebola training whatsoever. Ebola virus is being contained. If you watch the news, you know this is a load of bull. But on the Dallas Ebola, nurses actually boarded a plane packed with the fever. You won't catch Ebola because it's difficult to transfer. Well, thousands of dying Africans would disagree with you. In fact, according to the report just published by the University of Minnesota Center for Infectious Diseases, Ebola can become airborne. Working on the cure for Ebola, the fact is the U.S. government, big pharma, mainstream medicine has spent decades suppressing safe, natural cures that have potential destroyed nearly all viruses, including Ebola. Just look for the invidious vitamin C, which is used to kill viruses, remarkably kill severely to Ebola. And I thank you.
Okay, that was unprofessional medical advice taken accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Clark. I'm sorry, Mr. Modesto?
Woody, to your knowledge, the hold harmless, the waiver for wood cutting, is that,
Downstairs with...
that is a township form, and it's good for any cutting of any wood on any grocery or property. It covers...
I'm good for tomorrow. I'm good for Saturday.
But I mean, the form itself is township-wide. If somebody wanted to cut down a tree on a golf course...
No.
Okay, that's not... Just, okay, I just wanted to...
We're only doing it tomorrow. And we got certain locations that they can cut.
Okay, thanks, Woody.
Ms. Posias?
Just to underline that, there are only 3 locations where you will have the opportunity to cut supervised with a permit. But those of you who really want some wood, the Michigan DNR on Belle Isle has got a ton of wood. It will be available to you by just going to the Belle Isle MDEQ station. They will show you where it's at. They will allow you to cut it, and it's available between now and November 7th. So maybe, Woody, you gave them a good idea.
Let's let them cut our wood first and clean up our open, then we can go to Belle Isle.
Ours, too. It's just this weekend and some dry weekend. This might rain, so we don't have to go to the next weekend.
Yep.
Got to get it straightened out, though.
Yes, we do have a rain date of November 8th, if it's raining on Saturday. Not much fun with playing with a chainsaw in the rain. Other public comment? A lot of guests. Mr. Pilkington? No, his hand went up first, Ernie. You'll be next.
Hi, Craig Pilkington, South Point. A few things. Number one, please vote. There's an important school board election. We've got people that are going to be running our schools for the next 4 to 6 years. The Eel Camera actually has a nice article going over individuals, and St. Thomas has an excellent video out there, which allows you to get face-to-face with the candidates for these seats. You can go to their Facebook page, I think St. Thomas's, and find a link to it. Secondly, the resolution and any road millage that may be proposed for election, I certainly support it. I think we're greatly in need of it. Mr. Kostek, I've watched his meetings. I think he's done a very, very excellent job. As far as this is concerned, it's going to take us perilously close to 50 mills, but they're the shoes of our township, our roads, and we need to have it. I would ask, because BPAC has done such a wonderful job, and because they're promoting active communities cannot move ahead, I don't believe, to the silver level until we have a complete streets policy in effect, that BPAC be engaged and involved with some level of the planning and input for whatever improvements are made, and when we start spending that $9 million, because they've got a great group that does a lot of wonderful work. One more for the maybe the Communication Commission, and I've gotten a number of these inputs both via email to the OpcoZeal site and also to the Facebook page. If there's any way that we can come up with a way to communicate to our residents, even 30 to 45 minutes in advance, when the Wayne County Bridge is going to close. Whether the float is going northbound, whether it's going southbound. I think we put out some feelers, I think, to the bridge company. They know 15, 20 minutes in advance. If they could let us know, let you know, that would give our residents 30 to 45 minutes so that they could adjust their schedules, because it really is a problem for people. And I would hope that the Communication Commission would put that on their list of things to address. And the last thing, and it's only because I saw it on the agenda for open space, and I've been to the open space meeting and made this suggestion, before you make any other purchases, as I understand it, a Phase 1 environmental assessment is not an absolute demand or requirement as part of the process and procedure. As a municipality, if you want to assume a defense, I think under the all appropriate inquiries rule, and qualify yourself, you have to do those things. A Phase 1 environmental assessment does not cost that much, and I think it would help shield the township from liability with any property acquisition. And that's my 2 cents. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pilkington. Mr. Granda.
Ernie Granda, 19760 Meridian Road. I don't have much to say, but I was down this last weekend at the waterfront park there at the Parkway, and the Emerald Shiners are back running again, and they really haven't run in any shape or form in 30 years like they are right now. They run for a short time in the fall. They might be a little spotty, or they might have quit by now, but you can see them in the clear water. I used to dip them, and the water wasn't clear enough to see if they were running or not. You just dip haphazardly, and sometimes you get a net full, and sometimes you didn't. But it was just a constant stream of minnows heading upstream Sunday, and I stood there for about 20 minutes and never saw a break in the flow of minnows, and it looks like the river's getting healthier, and my worry about the zebra mussels eating the food for the minnows and stuff like that kind of slacked off a little bit, and I think things are going good for the river. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Granda. Other comments? All right, with none offered, I'll entertain a motion to retire to closed session. Moved by Trustee Bundy.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Posiask. This requires a 2/3 vote. Those in favor of going to closed session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We have the 2/3 vote. We will
Go into closed session. Let's take a 5-minute break, meet in the conference room here is it's closed. We'll have to go downstairs. Let's make it, it's been a long one. Let's start at 15:15. It'll give us a little time.